What if I told you that the thing you already know, the stuff you already use, and whatever you make or create could all be making you money online? Some of these platforms already have buyers built in, and others just make it a whole lot easier to sell what you've got. And you don't need a massive audience to do any of it. Stay with me because that's exactly what we're talking about today. Hi, I'm Trish, and this is Just a Number, the podcast for women 40 and up who are ready to stop waiting and start building from everything they already know. Part business, part unlearning, part confidence reset. Because you're not starting over, you're evolving with intention. We're talking lived experience, career wisdom, passions, and hard-earned perspective, turned into content, courses, and offers that actually help people. We're not here to play by the rules. Let's build boldly, teach what we know, and make it count. Welcome to Just a Number. I'm so glad you're here because this episode has been living in my head for weeks, and I can't wait to get into it with you. Before I do, I have to ask you something. Have you ever heard of Whatnot? I came across it on another podcast a while back, downloaded it just to see what it was, and immediately fell down the rabbit hole. I'm talking hours. I couldn't stop watching. And it ended up being the thing that cracked this whole episode open for me. One of the things I hear constantly from women in this community is some version of, I don't have a big enough following yet. Like the audience has to come first before the income can start. And I understand why it feels that way. We've been so conditioned to think that building on Instagram or showing up on social media every day is the only path. But what if that's just not true? What if there are places where the audience is already waiting, already shopping, already looking for exactly what you have, and your job is just to show up there? That's what today is about. We're going to talk about real platforms where real buyers are already spending money right now, and how you, with what you already know, what you make, what you already love, could be one of the people they're buying from. This week. Not after you hit 10,000 followers. This week. And I want to show you what that can look like, because I think sometimes it's easier when you hear an example to be able to understand it. So let's talk about a ceramicist who's been at her craft for over 15 years. She makes mugs, bowls, and vases, things people love and actually use. For most of those 15 years, she sold at local markets and to people in her circle. Good, but limited. Then she started putting her work on Etsy. She started doing live sales on Whatnot, where her regulars show up every week just to see what she made. She built a beginner ceramics course that she sells online. And she has an Amazon Associates storefront where she links her favorite tools and supplies, the exact things her customers always ask her about. And she earns a commission every time someone buys through her link. Same person, same 15 years of skill, 4 completely different ways for money to come in, and none of it required her to go viral. That's what we're building toward. So let's get into it. Let's start with physical products and Whatnot, because it's the one I can't stop thinking about. The Whatnot app is a live selling platform, so think of it like QVC, but run by people from their living rooms, offices and studios, and even their garages, selling everything you can possibly imagine. And when I say everything, I mean it. I watched someone do a live garage sale, literally just clearing out their house, holding things up to the camera, calling out prices, taking bids, and in a shop right alongside that, there were people selling the most coveted luxury handbags and jewelry I've ever seen. Same platform, completely different products. Both of them packed with buyers. What really got me was the energy in each of these shops. The sellers I kept going back to weren't just selling, they were performing, connecting, entertaining. They knew their repeat buyers by name. They'd call someone out like, oh, hey, Sarah's back. She got the blue one last week. They do giveaways in the middle of the show just to keep the energy up. They'd ask, what do you want to see next? Put 1 for Gucci, 2 for Chanel in the chat. And people would just respond immediately. It's interactive in a way that a product listing on a website just isn't. And if you don't want to be the one on camera, you can have someone else do that part while you run the logistics behind the scenes. And here's the thing about live selling that I think a lot of people don't realize. It's been absolutely dominant in Asia for years. It's a massive part of how people shop in Japan and China and across Southeast Asia. It's just now really hitting its stride here in the US, but it's growing fast, which means getting in now before every category is saturated is a real opportunity. If you make something or have stuff to sell, and I'm talking everything from jewelry to candles, clothing, vintage finds, collectibles, anything, Whatnot is definitely worth a serious look. The cost structure is pretty straightforward. Whatnot takes 8% of the sale plus about 3% for payment processing, so roughly 11% total. But there are no listing fees and no monthly subscription. The buyer pays the shipping. You do need to ship within 2 business days of a sale, so it's not completely hands-off. But for someone with inventory, some personality, some free time, this is a real option. Now, Etsy, which I'm sure you're familiar with, definitely deserves its reputation. What makes Etsy worth understanding is the intent behind the traffic. People who go to Etsy, they aren't just scrolling to be entertained. They're searching. They type in exactly what they want, such as a handmade ceramic mug or a vintage wool coat, a personalized baby gift, because they're ready to buy that specific thing. So when someone lands on your Etsy listing, they were already looking for it. The fees on Etsy are layered, and it's worth knowing them going in. You pay 20 cents to list each item, and that listing stays live for 4 months. When something sells, Etsy's going to take 6.5% of the sale price, including shipping, plus a payment processing fee of about 3%. Now, when you add it all together, you're realistically giving up somewhere around 20% of your sales to fees. So pricing with that in mind matters. But you're buying access to over 90 million active buyers who didn't come there to scroll. They came there to shop. Amazon Handmade sits in a similar space. It's Amazon's dedicated marketplace for artisan sellers, which means your work lives inside Amazon's ecosystem with a signal that says a real person made this. Their fees are comparable to Etsy, and the competition is real. After all, it's Amazon, but the traffic is enormous. And then there's TikTok Shop, which is growing so fast it would be wrong not to mention it. TikTok Shop lets sellers list products directly inside the app. Buyers can discover something through a video or a live stream and check out without ever leaving the app. In 2025, the platform logged over 100 billion US searches with shopping intent. That number still gets me every time I say it. The algorithm also does a lot of the discovery work for you. So a product that photographs or demonstrates well has a real shot at reaching people who weren't even looking for it yet. TikTok Shop does reward consistency. You need to be creating content regularly for it to work in your favor. But if you're already on TikTok anyway, adding a shop is a natural extension of what you're already doing. Now, we're only covering a few of the platforms available to makers. We could do a whole separate episode just on this category. But these are the ones worth knowing first. Now, let's talk about selling what you know. And before I do, I want to say something that I tell people all the time. If you can do something, you can absolutely teach it. This is not motivational bullshit. It's just true. And the women who are most resistant to that idea are usually the ones who've been doing something so long, it just feels completely ordinary to them. But it's not ordinary, it's earned. Let's think about our ceramicist again. She answered the same beginner questions 1,000 times. She knows exactly where people get stuck, exactly what they wish someone had told them at the start, exactly which tools are worth buying and which ones aren't. That knowledge, the specific, hard won, been there knowledge, is a course. Someone out there wants to learn ceramics from somebody who actually does it, not from a textbook. That someone is willing to pay for it. And I'll use my own situation here as well. I create content and digital offers. I host this podcast. And if I sat down and thought about it, I could sell storyboard templates and course planning templates on Etsy right now. I could offer a full course on a platform like Thinkific or Udemy. I could have a lower priced offer like a mini workshop or a quick start guide on StanStore. I have skills and tools and processes that other people would find useful, and so do you. So let's talk about where you'd actually host something like that. StanStore is worth talking about for simpler digital products. It's great for PDF guides, a mini course, maybe a resource library, or a single workshop recording. It's designed to work as a clean storefront or a sales hub that you promote and share with your audience. Someone lands there, sees what you have, and buys directly. It's very low friction and it's extremely easy to set up. This works really well for offers in that lower price range. Think 10 to $100. One thing to keep in mind though, StanStore works best when you're actively directing people to it, whether that's through social or email, a podcast, or wherever you show up. You'll want to be regularly sharing that link so people know it exists. For full courses, there are so many choices. Some of the most used are Teachable, Thinkific, and Kajabi, but there's also Udemy, Skillshare, and many, many others. The right one depends on where you are, what you need, and how comfortable you are with tech. I'm not going to tell you which one to start with because that answer is different for everyone. What I will tell you is that all of the most used platforms handle payments and student access automatically. They give you a professional home for your course content, and none of them require you to have an existing audience to get started. Kajabi's the most comprehensive. It can handle your course, your email list, your landing pages, your community, all in one place. And the price reflects that. Teachable and Thinkific are more focused tools and definitely less expensive. Spend some time on each of their websites and see which one feels good for where you're at right now. And let's not forget about YouTube. You can create a private course on YouTube and set up a link to purchase. Once they pay, they have access to something your other YouTube subscribers can't see. Again, these are just a few of the options in this space. There are others worth exploring depending on what you're building. But this gives you a real starting point. You have knowledge that someone else wants. There are places built specifically to let you sell it, and you don't need a massive following to make your first sale. The third way to show up, and the one I think surprises people the most when they realize it has earning potential, is as a recommender. You already do this. Every time you tell a friend about a product you love, every time you text someone a link, every time you say, I've been wearing these shoes every day for 6 months and they're incredible. You're doing affiliate marketing without getting paid for it. These platforms pay you for that exact behavior. Let me tell you about LTK, or Like to Know It, because I use this constantly as a shopper, and I want to explain how it actually works from the inside. LTK is a free app you can download on your phone. The way it works is that creators build a storefront on LTK and link everything they feature in their content. Think videos, photos, outfit breakdowns, room tours. Everything is shoppable. You see something you love, you tap it, you're taken directly to where you can buy it, and the creator earns a commission on the sale. Now, here's the part I love as a shopper, and I think it's the part that makes LTK different from just seeing an ad somewhere. I'm petite, I'm 5'2", and I've spent years buying things online that look nothing like they did on the model online. On LTK, I can follow creators who are specifically my size. I can see that someone's around my same height and weight, and if I like the way something fits on her body, I have a much better shot of it fitting mine. That level of specificity, that trust, is why people actually buy through LTK. It's not advertising. It's a recommendation from someone with similar taste. For creators, commissions on LTK typically run somewhere between 5 and 15%, but that depends on the brand. This one is an application process. It's not an open sign-up. They do want to see consistent content and an engaged audience on a social platform, particularly surrounding fashion, home, beauty, or lifestyle. But you don't need 1 million followers. You just need to be showing up regularly with content that people are actually responding to. And once you're in, the work is ongoing. You'll want to be regularly sharing your LTK content across whatever platform your audience is on, whether that's Instagram, TikTok, a blog, or your email list, so people know where to find what you're recommending. Amazon Associates works on a similar model and has a lower barrier to entry. You get to build a curated page on Amazon filled with products you actually use and love. Promote and share your link on social, blogs, and so on. And when someone shops through your links, you earn a commission. The rates are lower than LTK. Most everyday categories are in the 3 to 5% range, but they can be as high as 10% for certain items. Now, here's the thing about Amazon that makes it interesting. When someone clicks your link, adds your item, and then keeps shopping, you earn a commission on everything they put in their cart in that session, not just the thing you linked, the whole cart. And I think about our ceramicist again. She's been answering the same questions about tools and supplies for 15 years. Her students and customers are constantly asking, what kind of clay do you use? What glazes do you use? Where did you buy your kiln? An Amazon Associates storefront is just a permanent, organized, shoppable answer to all of those questions. It costs her nothing to set up. It earns her something every time someone buys through it. That's the model. Your existing knowledge and taste become a revenue stream on their own. And again, LTK and Amazon are just 2 examples in this space. There are plenty of other affiliate programs worth exploring depending on your niche. Let's go back to our ceramicist one more time, because I think it's helpful to see the whole picture. She makes ceramics and sells physical pieces on Etsy and through Whatnot, where she knows her regulars by name. She built a beginner course that she created once and has been selling for 2 years. She has an Amazon Associates storefront where the same questions she's been answering for free her whole career now earn her a commission. And none of it required her to have 100,000 followers. It required her to take what she already had and put it in places where people were already shopping. Now think about your own situation. What do you make or have that someone would pay for? What do you know so well it feels ordinary to you but absolutely isn't? What do you use and love and recommend to people already? Those aren't 3 separate questions, but they might be 3 separate income streams. We've only talked about a handful of platforms today. This is nowhere near a complete list. New ones pop up all the time. The point isn't to be on all of them. The point is that the options exist. They're real. They're accessible. And you get to choose the ones that make sense for your life, your skills, and how you want to spend your time. Nobody's requiring you to go live on Whatnot if that's not your thing. Nobody's requiring you to build a course if you would rather sell on Etsy. The freedom here is real. So here's one thing I would love for you to do this week, just one small thing. Go back through what we talked about today. The maker platforms, the teaching platforms, the recommender platforms. Pick the one that made you lean forward a little. Not the most impressive one, not the one you think you should choose, but the one that felt most like you. Then go spend 30 minutes on that platform as a buyer or a browser this week. See who's selling, see what's working, notice the energy. You're not signing up for anything, you're not building anything. You're just getting familiar with what you might want to move into. Because every woman who's thriving on these platforms right now started exactly where you are, with something worth sharing and a decision to show up somewhere new. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. If this episode gave you something to think about, please share it with a woman in your life who's been sitting on something that she should be selling. And as always, follow the show so you never miss an episode. I'll see you next time.